he called his son to his bedside.
"My son," the Igwe whispered, his voice thin as dry leaves. "There is only one way to save the throne. You must find Oma, make peace with her, bring back your son. The throne must not leave our family because of your foolishness." The next day, guards were sent to all neighboring villages, asking about a woman named Oma, describing her features. 2 days later, a farmer gave them shocking news. Oma still lived in the evil forest of Uzo Ojo. The guards could hardly believe anyone could survive there for over 5 years. The following morning, the prince accompanied his guards into the forest. They found Oma's palm frond hut in a clearing. Oma was outside, and beside her played a boy, about 5 years old, with the prince's own features. The prince's heart clenched at the sight of his son. "Oma," he said, stepping forward, "I am sorry. Please, get your things. Come with us. Come home." Oma stood slowly, her eyes hard as stones. "Leave this place and never return." "But Oma, What is happening to you is just the beginning," she said coldly. "As for this boy, he will never be yours." The prince's world shattered, but he had no choice. He returned home defeated. When he told his father what had happened, the Igwe, even in his weakened state, was furious. "You fool! You saw your own son and came back without him when you know what is at stake?" As the Igwe spoke, his body suddenly convulsed. He gasped, clutched his chest, and collapsed on his mat. The Lolo screamed for help, but it was too late. The prince stared at his father's still body, and in that moment he knew everything was lost. Without hesitation, without even mourning, he gathered his guards and rushed back to the forest. They found Oma with her son near the stream. Before she could react, the guards seized the boy. "No! No! Give me my son!" Oma fought with all her strength, but she was one woman against many men. They tore the screaming child from her arms. "Please! He is all I have! Please!" Oma's cries echoed through the forest as she collapsed to the ground, watching them disappear with her son. The next day, Oma came to the palace demanding her child, but the prince ordered her thrown into the cell beneath the palace, a dark pit dug into the earth, covered with bamboo poles. 3 days later, the Igwe was buried with full honors. The entire village gathered as his body, wrapped in fine cloth and animal skins, was laid in the earth. After the burial, the council of elders convened in the bamboo hall. The prince stood before them, confident that despite everything, he would be crowned Igwe. After all, he now had his son. But the Ezemuo, the chief priest, spoke first. His voice was ancient and filled with the wisdom of the gods. "The Ane gods have spoken to me in dreams. They reject this offering." Onowu, the late Igwe's younger brother, rose from his stool. His body bore the scars of a warrior, and his voice was strong. "Our tradition is clear. A man without seed, true accepted seed, cannot be king. My brother's throne cannot go to one who has been cursed." "But I have a son," the prince protested. "A son who was stolen," an elder added. "A son whose mother cursed you at the boundary. The gods have not blessed this union." The Lolo tried to speak on her son's behalf, but the elders would not hear it. The decision was made. Onowu would be crowned the new Igwe. Meanwhile, the young boy sat in the prince's compound, watched by guards who had been assigned to care for him. But these were young, careless men, more interested in the drama of succession than in a frightened child. "Should we feed him?" one guard asked. "Later," another replied, distracted by the commotion coming from the palace. "The meeting is more important." The boy cried for his mother, but no one came. He was given no food, no water. By nightfall, he had developed a fever, his small body burning with heat. Still, the guards did not notice. They were too busy drinking palm wine and arguing about who would serve under the new Igwe. It was the Lolo who found him the next morning. She had come to see her grandson, to hold him, to find some joy in the midst of their loss. But when she entered the room, she found the boy lying motionless on the mat. "No, no, no!" Her voice started as a whisper, then became a wail that shook the very foundations of the palace. "My grandson!" She gathered the small, cold body in her arms, rocking back and forth. The prince came running at his mother's screams. When he saw his son, his only child, his only hope, lifeless in his mother's arms, something broke inside him. He fell to his knees, unable to make a sound. The guards stumbled in, suddenly sober, suddenly realizing what their negligence had cost. "We didn't know he was sick, my prince. We thought he was just sleeping." The Lolo's grief turned to rage. "You let him die! You let my grandson die!" She clutched the child tighter, her body shaking. In the cell beneath the palace, Oma heard the wailing. At first, she didn't understand what had happened. Then a sympathetic guard came and whispered through the bamboo poles, "The boy, your son, he is dead." Oma's scream was that of a wounded animal. She beat her fists against the mud walls until they bled. She tore at her wrapper. She called out her son's name until her voice was gone. The child she had carried for 9 months, the child she had raised alone in the evil forest, the child who was her entire world, he was gone. The boy was buried quickly, as was the custom for children. But the Lolo could not bear the loss. For 3 days she neither ate nor drank. She sat in her chamber, staring at nothing, speaking to no one. On the 4th day, they found her lying peacefully on her mat, as if asleep, but she had joined her grandson in the land of the ancestors. 2 days after her mother's burial, the prince stood in the village square as Onowu was crowned Igwe. The new king sat on the bamboo throne, wearing the ceremonial beads and leopard skin that should have been the prince's. The prince watched, hollow and empty. He had lost everything: his father, his mother, his son, his throne, all because of a lie he had told years ago. After the coronation, the new Igwe addressed the people. "It is clear that injustice was done to Oma, daughter of this village. She will be released and restored to her rightful place among us." The guards opened the cell and brought Oma out. She was thin, her eyes vacant, her spirit broken. The new Igwe spoke to her with kindness, offered her land, offered her compensation, but Oma heard none of it. She went directly to where her son had been buried, a small mound of earth outside the palace walls. She sat beside it and did not move. Days passed. People brought her food, but she would not eat. They brought her water, but she barely drank. They tried to lead her to a proper house, but she would not leave her son's grave. "I failed you," she whispered to the earth. "I could not protect you. Forgive me, my son." The prince saw her there each day as he moved through the village like a ghost. He no longer wore fine cloth or leopard skin. He had become nothing, just a man haunted by his choices.